Hey, good morning, everybody. I am Jackie Green from the Chatham County Council on Aging. I got a horrible back. Are you having trouble hearing me, Bonnie?
I can.
Okay. So we are at Priority Farm in Sanford, North Carolina. It's my husband's and my farm. This is where you would be entering to come in. And I wanted to show you this because we've come through here before when we did our last visit. And this wasn't nearly as calm as it is now. My husband's done a lot of work to try to make this so that it's accessible to people who are coming. We've had people come with, I don't want to call them carriages, but strollers. So we tried to make this as smooth as possible. Ideally, we want to make this so that it's wheelchair accessible, which I think at this point we could get a wheelchair across here. So the mission of our farm is we want to mentor especially to kids from single parent families, but we want to be able to create an environment where other organizations can come and enjoy this. So we have 27 acres here. We've got 2 pastures that we've set up that we're going to be seeing here in just a minute. And the pastures are 1 acre each so that we can rotate pastures. So we have currently 11 alpaca, 3 chickens, and 1 Great Pyrenees dog named Levi. And I don't know whether he's going to come up and say hello or not. Now, as you can see, for COVID purposes and things, we have installed our hand sanitizer. Okay. We make sure that people that come here have to have their masks on. And if you were to see out there where our paddock is, that's where we normally do our tours. But we have ribbons on the paddock so that they can see where their 6-foot distancing is. But that's what we call pasture 1, barn 1. And right now Levi and the chickens reside in there, but the chickens can also get over here. And this is pasture 2. All the fencing that you see here, the fence posts, the fencing, my husband and I did. We initially had help with our son and a couple of volunteers to help us get started, but all of the rest of it, my husband and I put in. So let me turn around here. And here we go to barn number 2. Now it's important for us to be able to rotate pastures because you can have about 7 alpaca per acre and not have to, what you call dry lot feed. Oh, and now we have Sherry doing her thing in front of us. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I'm going to wait here till she's done. We'll walk over this way a little bit. And you'll see the chickens running away. They may come see me later. I've got 1 friendly chicken that I like to feed scratch to so I can pet her and pick her up when people come. And this is coming to the barn. So we have hay available to them all the time. And we're entering into the barn. You'll see the alpacas laying down. It's what we call cushing. And that one that's laying down is the one that we think is expecting.
Watch what you cut.
Watch what?
Chew cut.
Oh, she's now, you may be able to see her chewing her cud. We put a video on our YouTube. So this is Sunshine that's laying down. And that's Sherry. And if you watch the side of Sunshine's throat, you may be able to see a lump in a minute go down. So they are in the camelid family. And there it goes down, and you may see it come back up. There it comes back up. And she gets to chew it the second time. So you just never know what you're going to learn at the farm. So they have several different stomachs, and they have to process the food from one stomach to the other. So they swallow into one stomach, they bring it back up, they chew it back up, and then they put it back down into a different stomach.
Yeah, that's what they call chewing your cud.
That is what you call chewing your cud, Daryl. All right, I got to see if I can get rid of one of these headsets. Hold on just a minute. So I am going to get rid of my hearing aid. So I have my hearing aid doing sound in here. Ooh, look at little boy over here. That's our little baby. It's not so little anymore. So he is roughly, oh, and he's piddling now. They do lots of piddling and pooping. So his name is Zeke. He was born 17 pounds, 17.2 pounds. He knows I'm talking about him. And he's now probably high 30s in pounds in a month. So you figure he's doubled his weight in a month. And Daryl, I wish you could see these guys. Now this is Sherry. She likes to be front and center. And you'll notice her fleece, okay? Her fleece hangs more in what we call dreadlocks. And her cousin, I'll call her cousin, is Faith, who's standing right next to her. You can see how the fleece grows in long kind of strings and they curl as they go down. You can see the curliness there. Let me see if I can get to Sherry's neck. You can see her curlies. And then, so they're what we call the Surrey alpacas. Their hair is very luxurious. It's part of, it's used for high-end European fashions. And then this other one we have here, you can see how she looks more like a teddy bear. This is Ziva, and she's what we call a kind of, her type is a Huacaya, which is Huacaya, and she's here to say good morning as well. See, they're very friendly. This would not be normal if they were out in the wild, obviously. She's coming up for front and center. And this one is like a little fur ball. We almost called her Marshmallow. Hold on just a second. Welcome, Elaine. We're glad you could join us.
7 and 8. Back up to a march. Like you always sit everything on the right leg this time.
If you could mute, if everybody could mute their microphones for a minute.
7, 8. Wide, narrow, narrow. The 3 through the arms.
Hold on a second.
3.
Let me see if I can mute this one. All right, I think so. We figured it out. Okay, so this is my husband, Jim. Good morning, Jim. So he's going to show you the fleece. So this is the Huacaya. So this is more the teddy bear. Hold on there, Ziva. You can see how deep he's got to go to get into that fleece. And you can see some crimp in there, maybe. Not sure how good the camera's going to show it. You can see how white she is underneath. There you can kind of see some crimp. So when you're looking at the fleece, the alpacas are used in the United States. They're used for their fleece and they're used for breeding purposes. And some people, you can use them for meat source if they're your own, but you can't sell alpaca meat in the United States. We don't eat ours. So what you're doing is you're looking at the fleece and you're trying to figure out how good a quality the fleece is. It depends on the microns, how fine it is. So what is the number, Jim? You want to talk a minute on? So alpaca fiber, like a Angora rabbit like we've got, is the finest. Then you get to baby alpaca, which would be like this one has. And their fiber is very fine. And then it goes up to alpaca normally is somewhere between, I think it's like 16 microns and 25, whereas a human hair is 70 microns in width. So it kind of shows you how much finer the alpacas are than people's hair. And it's much finer than wool, except for merino wool is low as well. Now this one here is being a little, this one when she was born, she didn't want to nurse. What she wanted to do is she wanted to lick. So she investigates the world a lot using her mouth. She's been known to come up behind me and grab my sports bra strap and pull it and let go. But alpacas do not have teeth in the front on both the top and the bottom. They only have So you, like, she can grab a hold of it, but she can't, she's got a pad on the top of her mouth. She doesn't have teeth on the top. She just has teeth on the bottom and the front. Now, if she goes all the way to the back, she's got molars to chew with on both the top and the bottom. This is her mama. Her mama is Aoi. And it's kind of neat because when you see them side by side, they look like us. You can see the similarities between the two of them. Looks like Aoi's have an issue with her eye too, like Panda had. So this one here is Millie, and she is the mama of our little Zeke, who is now out there. Zeke is the first male alpaca we've had born here, and we can see a difference in his disposition from the females. We had 4 females born here last year. We had Ziva, we had Carissa, who's the brown and white one, we had Faith, who's this one here, and Millie, who's the mama of the new baby, is also her mama. So she has her own little family here on the farm. And then the other one is Sherry, who was over here before, and she's the baby of Panda, the black one. And Panda, I don't know if you can see her. She is over here doing something alpacas love to do. Honey, would you hold on? Let me see if I can get over there quick enough to show you what she's doing. Now this will show you why Ziva looks as dirty as she does. Is Panda is over here rolling in the dust. Hello, Panda. Hi, pretty mama. Don't let me disturb your bath. They love to do a dust bath. Helps them keep cool, helps them keep their fleece clean, keeps the bugs off them. Now here's a little tidbit. What do you use when a baby has diaper rash? What's the white cream that you spread on them? Do you remember? Zinc oxide or Desitin. Okay. Well, black alpacas and dark alpacas tend to get bare spots on their head, sometimes on their back, and it's because they have a deficiency in zinc. So what we had to do with Panda is her nose was pretty sparse. She stopped rolling. I'm gonna head back this way. But what happened is they lose their hair on certain areas when they have a zinc deficiency. So what we were told was to take the Desitin and rub it on the areas that she was losing the hair. So she used to look much more like a panda because we'd have to rub this white cream all over her nose, and it would stand out drastically against her black coloring. And then the vet came right after Zeke, our little baby, was born, and we learned that you can actually give Desitin orally to alpacas. So we now take Desitin, we get it into a medicine syringe without the needle on the end, and we inject it into their mouth. And the first time we did it, we thought, oh my goodness, what are they gonna do when they get it in there? They seem to like the taste, believe it or not. We don't recommend that for humans, but we use it for alpacas. All right, so that was Panda, and this is Sherry, who is her mama. Oh, she's rolling again. See, I left her be, and she decided she was gonna roll again. Every time I bring the camera back over to Panda, she stops rolling. Isn't that funny? Oh, here she goes. Now you'll notice that when they get up and down, you can kind of see their similarity to a camel. They get down and they stand up just like a camel does. They're part of a camelid family. They're not seeing that, they're just seeing this. Because I've got that camel. So again, so we were trying to do this virtual tour thinking we were gonna have the baby from this one here. This is Sunshine. We were hoping she was gonna have her baby. So let's talk a little bit about alpaca babies. Here comes Mama and the most recent baby here. So alpacas, when they breed, we do not, so Zeke is the only male we have on our farm. So we bring in males to breed with our females. Aren't they cute? Good morning, beautiful. Hello, Mama. You may get a treat and see him running around. He is a fast little bugger. See, he likes to pick on people. He also likes to chase the chickens. When we had the other 4 last year, we had 4 babies simultaneously, and they did a lot of running around together. Panda's coming to say hello. Hello, Panda. So we bring the males on our farm. We bring the female into one of those enclosures like that. We bring the male in on a halter, and we let them breed. If the female wants to breed, she will lay down in what we call a cush position, which is like they're doing over there, where they just kind of lay down. And then the male will mate with her, and they make some interesting noises. If you want to go look on the internet, you can find that. And then what happens is, so female alpacas ovulate only when they're bred. So they don't have like a monthly menstruation. So when you bring the male to them, that's when they'll ovulate. So within 5 to 7 days, the female will know whether she's pregnant. So then what you can do is you can breed. You go over so you can see Millie. They're all seem like they're all going over to roll. So what happens is if you bring the male and the female back together after 5 to 7 days, if the female is pregnant, she knows it, and she will do what you call spit off. And she'll look at him, she'll run away from him, and she'll spit right at him and just kind of say, "Get away from me." Okay? So it gives a new definition to, "Sorry, dear, I got a headache." So what you can also do is, in a certain window, and I don't remember what the time frame is, you can take and have the vet come out and do an ultrasound to verify the pregnancy. So what we do is we breed them once, we bring the male and female together, and if the female is not receptive, we do that again in another week to verify again that she spits them off. And if she spits them off twice, then we assume that she's bred. If she doesn't spit them off and she's receptive again, then that's mama and baby, then they'll breed again. And they might breed for 30 minutes, 45 minutes when they breed. So then after a certain number of days, and it's a very narrow window from what we understand, you can have an ultrasound done to determine if they're pregnant. Well, we didn't do that because it cost us a couple $100 an animal. So if you look at Sunshine from the back, she looked pretty wide. So we assumed she was pregnant. Now, how long do they carry their baby? They carry their baby on average, I think it's 347 days. So it's 11 and a half months. But then they also, you see her fleece moving. They also, the longest known pregnancy is like 421 days. So you can imagine how long they're pregnant. So we've kind of watched their body shapes, and this is not Sunshine's normal body shape. So we tend to think she probably still is pregnant, but we don't know. And the other one that we thought was bred was Panda, and we're not quite sure about her either. So we're kind of in a wait and see pattern. And when Millie gave birth to hers, she was 10 days early, but she was also early with her last one. So just like women have different carrying lengths of time, so do the among them. So we talked a little bit about, so that we have the wakayas. This kind of shows a better comparison between the two. This one is a wakaya. She's kind of teddy bear. That's her daughter, Carissa. She's one of the 4 that we had born last year. This one is a Surrey. And only 10% of the alpacas in the United States are Surreys. The rest of them are like this one, which is beautiful, Carmen, who's a wakaya. And their fur grows 90 degrees from their skin, whereas the Surreys grow parallel to their skin. So let's go look at something that's always interesting. Let's look at poop. Okay. So they are communal poopers, meaning they tend to all go in the same place. So what we do is we figure out where they're going to go, and then we try to put a rug down so that it makes our job easier. So with the poop, it can carry parasites. So what we have to do is, our job as their caretakers is to keep as little poop around as possible so that the parasites won't go from the poop to them. Because if they were to eat in an area where the parasites were, then their parasite load gets too high and they can get very sick and they can die. So we take and we pick up the poo twice a day. Now, we've already picked up here this morning, so you can see how much is already back. And we pick it up and we use like little janitorial buckets. We have these janitorial buckets here, and we use those to collect it using these kind of rakes. We take it from here. We have compost. We have piles of our poo, and it's one of the best animal fertilizers you can use. Let me put it that soil amendments that you can use, because we don't call it a fertilizer. We could sell it. It's called black gold. It's very balanced. It will not burn plants. So you can take it from the pile here and put it directly on your plants, and it won't hurt them. It's a naturally balanced fertilizer. You can take it and you can dry it out, and you can put it in, you could have it in a burlap bag, dip it in water, leave it soak in for 24 hours, and then use it to water your house plants. Alpaca poo itself doesn't smell. If it's got urine on it, it can, but the poo itself does not smell. So as you can see, we've got the fence around the outside. Then we have these paddocks that we set up so that we can close them in if we need to. This is also where we feed. Did I tell everything about the poo that's running to him? So part of the reason why we have these paddocks up is it gives us a way to close them in, because once a week we do what we call herd health. So we have to keep a real close eye on them. They do have problems with poisonous plants. You got to watch the parasites. So one of the things we do is once a month, we give them an injection of ivermectin, which is just to kill a certain type of parasite that if they poop it out, and I get it right, and a snail eats it, and a deer eats where the snail was, and then the deer poops and it gets on the hay, on the grass, and they eat it, it can actually it can actually go right in their nervous system and kill them. It's very, very, and if they get it, it's very hard to save them. So we inject them once a month to break that cycle. And part of the reason we can do that is because of the life cycle of that particular parasite. They will not get, what do you call it? The parasite cannot build up an immunity to that drug because of the way that the life cycle is. Whereas other parasites that they can pick up, like roundworms, can't remember all the other ones. There's a whole bunch of different ones. If we treat them on a regular basis, they'll become immune to the drug, and we don't want to do that, which is part of what's happened in the goat community. So, herd health, the other thing we do, we give them vitamins. We give them vitamins orally in a big syringe.
That's to make sure they're used to, they're from the South American Andes Mountains, which is known for having a much higher concentration of vitamins and minerals in their ground. So we have to supplement that to make sure that they're healthy here. So we give them vitamins. We also have free access. No, we don't, not that we charge them, but always available. This is the inside of our barn. So if you look here on the wall in this green holder, we have minerals, which is the brownie stuff over here, which is kind of a powdery type thing. And then this is baking soda. So if they get an upset stomach, they know to come over here and have some baking soda. If they need the minerals, they self-medicate and they come over and they eat the minerals. Now this one's here trying to say, you got baking soda on your finger. Oh, here's one of our chickens. So I'm kind of bouncing around here a little bit, but I'm trying to talk about what I see when I see it. So we found out that we have a very natural ecosystem in our barn. So what happens is alpacas come in, and yes, we have some pads on the floor here, which is where they tend to come in and poo in the barn. We'd rather they not poo in the barn, but they do. So we clean the poo off, but the urine remains off sometimes. And what happens is it gets into the material that's around the outside of the pad here. And what happens is, so down in here, you can see, we use wood pellets that when they get wet, they expand, and then it breaks apart. Well, what we ended up with was fly larvae all underneath here. And then we'd have these massive outbreaks of flies. Well, then we realized that the chickens were coming over and they were digging in this area. So we don't get rid of this all the time. We let the chickens come in and they dig out and they eat all the larvae, or a lot of it, maybe not all of it. So we have a natural ecosystem here, which has worked pretty well. And Ziva just loves. If you come to the farm for a visit, this one has been known on multiple occasions to lay down right next to you so that she can get lovin's, and she'll cush and she'll just let you love on her. We've had a little girl like 5 who spent about probably a half hour sitting with her. Now we have a theory. Her mama's kind of grumpy with her. So we think she's realized that people are more friendly than her mama is. So she likes people attention. So we have the chickens here for bug control, as well as we get eggs from them. So the babies, once they're born. So let's talk about the babies when they're born. When the babies are born, they're born usually between like 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. And the reason they do that is they believe that in their natural habitat, they need to wait, their bodies know to wait until it's warm enough for the baby to survive. But then the mothers won't feed them all night, so they have to be alive long enough to get enough nourishment to make it through the night. So we kind of know that if they haven't given birth by, like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's probably not happening that day. So we're still holding out hope for this one. So when they're born, the baby comes out nose first, hopefully, nose and toes first, like it's in a diving position, like nose over toes, kind of like our exercise class, right? Nose over toes. Couldn't resist that. And the placenta separates naturally, but they have a membrane over their entire body. And once, see, he's kind of chewing on Mama a little bit. He's investigating Mama. So if they come through and the membrane is still over their nose, you need to make sure that breaks, because they've got to be able to breathe, because the placenta has already separated. So they need to get oxygen. So if the membrane is over their nose, we need to take care of that. Once they're out, the alpacas do not lick to like a dog or a cat will to eat the membrane off and clean it up and dry it off. So we have to dry it off. So we use towels, we use a blow dryer. And it's important for us to make sure that they get warm quickly because they are born without any immunity. And all of their immune system gets transferred to them in the first 24 hours based on the colostrum that comes from the mom. So it's our job as their assistants to make sure the baby gets cleaned off and gets to the nipple and starts nursing because they've got to nurse well in the first 24 hours to get all that immunity. There's wax plugs in the ends of the nipples that we make sure comes off so that the babies can nurse. And within the first hour, the babies go from laying on the ground to standing up. And usually right away they are nursing. But we make sure they nurse, we make sure that they're strong enough to nurse. And then come nighttime, or if they were born in a time that it was too cool, here's Carissa. Isn't she pretty? So we have what we call cria coats. So we would put this, so when Zeke was first born, each evening we came out, his head would come through where my hand is. Let me see if I can do this differently. So if this was him, I don't know if I got a long enough arm, I'll try to do it this way. His head would be out here, and that would be across his back, and then there's a strap below there that goes around his belly. So we have to make sure that the strap avoids the where the placenta was, where the umbilical cord attached. And we also check to make sure that they don't have a hiatal hernia, an umbilical hernia. So we put our finger up near their placenta once we clean it off, or where the umbilical cord was, and we rub our finger around it and see if we can feel a gap. When a couple of ours were born last year, they had a hernia, so we had a little bit of the material back in, and we just lightly massaged in a circle around the fiber, around the opening, and it will naturally close. So we didn't have to have surgery or anything on them because we were able to close it with just the manual manipulation. So once they're born, the other thing that we do, as I didn't mention, is after we dry them off, we do make sure that we clean the umbilical cord where it was. We use an iodine solution because one of the things that can happen, because that can be an open wound there, and you're not in a sterile environment, obviously here when they're laying down, they can get an infection and it can turn sepsis and it can kill the babies. So we clean the umbilical cord, we soak the umbilical cord in the iodine solution for, I think it's like 3 times in the first hour, and then a couple times that day to make sure that it's sanitary and that it dries so that it'll fall off. Once the baby is born, then within a couple of hours, the mother gives birth to the, what's it called? I'm turning to my assistant. The blue bag that comes out. Oh, the whole placenta is passed within a couple of hours, and it starts as this blue bag coming out the same track as the baby came. And the first time we saw it, was, wow, that's kind of bizarre looking. Now, this year, when Millie gave birth, what was interesting was Jim came out to do chores. We have a camera in the barn here. So we've connected up a Wi-Fi camera up here in our barn. I don't know if you can see it. We've got 2 of them, so we can kind of get up in the morning and we can look and see what kind of activity we have, see if we have any babies. We don't keep these on a regular basis. We only do this when there's babies going to be born. And so I checked the cameras. There wasn't any activity. He came out to do chores, and he goes, he gets on the phone. He goes, "We got a baby," because he had come out through the gate, and where Panda was rolling in the dust, the placenta was there already. So the boy was out running around. So it was very interesting. It was nice to see it happen in its natural way, and we didn't have, because last year we helped with all 4 births, whereas this year we didn't have to with the one that we had. Any questions so far? I know I've been talking a lot.
How did you work? Do you work every day and then take care of all this that you've been talking about?
Well, most days when I'm working, I just assist with the afternoon chores. So we do the chores in the morning and the afternoon. And
Okay.
otherwise, my husband, my wonderful husband, is the alpaca keeper
Oh,
full time. I'm only part-time alpaca keeper.
oh,
Now,
okay.
but when he had his back surgery in June, yes, I did both. I would come out here and take care of the alpacas. I'd work. I'd come out here and take care of the alpacas, and then I go back in and do what I had to do in the house for the evening. But normally, I'm blessed, and normally I don't have to do that. That's Jim's job. So, oh, there's the baby. He's nursing again. Cute little bugger. And it's interesting because they push their nose up, and as they push on the bag, and then suck on the nipple, then they get their milk. They're such a cute little. Oh, so one of the reasons, so I was going to tell you, so they have to nurse quickly when they're a baby to get the immune system, but they have to be warm when they do that. We check and make sure we take their temperature rectally, and they have to be over 100 degrees, I think. And if they're not, then we have to warm them up even more, because if they drink the milk and their body temperature is too low, they can't process the milk, and the milk will actually sour in their stomach before they can use it.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to make sure the babies are warm enough. So because we don't have another little baby to show you, we thought that today we would save the feeding process for what you could see. So they have, as you can see, they have free access to hay all the time. That's the bulk of their diet. And then they get pellets twice a day, and they have water all the time. And then they get their vitamins once in a while. So when they eat, they have the same, they're kind of like us in the terms that they've got their same passageway goes from their stomach to their lungs. So one of the things that can happen is you can see that when they chew their cud and their food is going up and down that airway, you have to be careful that they don't do what they call choke. So if they're eating and they try to spit at another alpaca, and we'll talk about spitting in a minute, they can do what you call choke, which is getting food stuck in their air pipe, and they can die from it. And they start coughing just like we do. So what we end up doing is, if we've had that happen on a couple of occasions where we see one that's in choke, and they kind of react like we do in terms of their eyes get really wide because they're coughing and they're choking and they're scared because they can't breathe. So we go up alongside them and we rub their neck to try to dislodge whatever is there that's blocking the airway. So when we feed them, so alpaca spitting. Now this one you can see she's getting a little irate with the one next to her. She's like, I haven't had breakfast yet. Get away from me. Okay. Alpacas, unlike llamas, alpacas only spit at each other. A llama will spit at a person, but alpacas normally won't do that. Now, when we're doing herd health and they're feeling threatened, they may spit at us. In the barn here on a regular basis, you'll have an alpaca, if one's getting unhappy with another one, it may spit at another one and you can get caught in the crossfire. And there's 3 different kinds of spit. Their first round is essentially just air, and they're blowing air out, and they're kind of like, get away from me. The second one, they're kind of spitting out what they got in their mouth. And that's not pleasant because it's wet. And then the third one, they bring up stuff from their gut and they let that go. And let me tell you, that stinks. That's really nasty stuff. So you want to avoid that. So when we feed, we try to keep everybody calm so that nobody wants to spit. They each have their own bowls. We could trough feed, which have everybody eating from the same trough, but if you do that, you have some that eat faster than others, just like people, and you can't gauge how much each animal got. We weigh each of these every month, and we know how much they weigh. We do what we call a body score, which is we put our hands on them, body score. And what we do is we feel how it feels from their spine to the sides of them so that we can tell whether or not they're overweight or underweight. So we feed them according to their needs. So we need to know how much each of them eats. So we have individual bowls for each of the animals, and we put in there what they need based on their body weight, based on what they're doing. Right now we have Millie, who's the mama, and she's nursing. We have her with another extra component in her food called calf manna to help her produce better milk. So when we have the bowls ready to go, one of the things we try to do is to keep them all finishing at the same time so that they're not bothering one another. So we take something called gold, which if you look at our hay bale here, if I dig all the way to the bottom, you get these little crumbly things at the bottom. And we call this gold. And it's the little seeds, and they like that. So we put that in some of their bowls to slow them down. You can also put rocks in there that are too big for them to eat, but it's enough to make them have to work around the stone to get to all the food, so it slows them down so that they won't choke. If you look at their mouth, something else that's interesting, they have a split upper lip. So in natural, if they were out in the wild, they can use that lip is kind of like fingers. And they can eat around thorns and things like that because they can move their upper lip separately, which is kind of neat. She's really soft. Her nose is really, really soft. So we're going to feed. We're going to bring them all out. Jim's going to show you how that's done. We usually use what we call sorting sticks, and they're long sticks. And what we use is we just use those to keep them in the position they need to be, or to, yes, it works as an extension of our arms. They seem to know how long our arms are, so they will naturally, as we go near them, they will stay at least that distance apart from us. So we use these extra sticks to make our arms longer so that we can corral them if we need to, or that kind of thing. So, what was that, Daryl?
Social distancing?
It's for social distancing. Yes, we should send everybody back to the senior center with their own sorting sticks. Didn't think about that.
Yeah, right.
I'll have to make that recommendation. Tell them it was your idea, Daryl.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So Jim is, we teach them certain words. We repeat certain words that we use with them so that they kind of have an idea what's going on. And one of them is a way that we call them to eat. I'm trying to see if you, oh, wait a minute, hold on. I got to see what you're seeing. I just tried to clean off my camera, and when I did, I switched my screen. Okay, so in the very back of the barn is a table where Jim fixes the meals, and the bowls are currently all stacked up. Usually that makes a lot of noise, like metal on metal. It's aluminum, it's like stainless steel bowls. Usually they hear that and they come around. So what we do is, so that they don't cause us problems, we usually go and do other chores before we feed them, because if they gather around there, they start spitting at one another. What happens when they spit is, if they spit the gut spit, the chemical composition of this gut spit will numb their lips, and then they can't eat. So they get a bottom lip that drops because they don't have any control of it, because it's paralyzed for a few minutes. So they can't eat. So then they cause problems. And then the goop they have in their mouth, if they go to somebody else's bowl, they spoil the other bowl too. So we try to get the bowls done. We disappear for a bit and we do other things to get them away. And then Jim uses the following words to call them so that they're gonna enjoy their meal.
Okay, girls, time to eat.
So I don't know if you heard him say, he said, time to eat. And they know that's the call to the meal. Come on, Sherry. Time to eat, Sherry. Come on, Panda, time to eat. You can see them running in from the, they know what that means. Here they come, look out. It's kind of like coming from a big family. The mom says it's time to eat, you don't wait. I don't have any today. See, Sunshine knows that when we're feeding together, I usually have her bowl. It's a little bit of chaos. And yes, they do pretty much know their names. Oh, you gotta look at this. And this one is running around. Now, the other thing that happens is a lot of times when they start to feed like this, the chicken comes around because some of them aren't very neat eaters. So as they drop food, a lot of the time the chickens will stand next to the ones that are the worst, are the messiest eaters, and they grab all the pellets that fall on the ground. Now, I don't know if you can hear that chicken squawking.
Mm-hmm.
So that chicken probably just laid an egg somewhere. They're not quiet animals. And actually, I think that one is the one we had to do chicken foot surgery on. I think that's the white one. Is that the white one? Oh, no, it's the black one. So things that we've had to do medically for these animals, we talked about giving Panda oral Desitin now to fight the skin, the hair that she loses. Once a year, we shear them, and we shear them to get their fleece off, because if they were to keep their fleece on more than 1 year, they would die from the heat. Because they would just overheat. So we have a shearers come with kind of like dog shears, and they shear them for us once a year. When they shear them, they also cut their toenails. If you look at their feet, they have feet like camels. They've got 2 toes, and they've got a pad. Panda Sunshine's going, what are you doing? What are you looking at my feet for? I'm eating. So they have a soft pad at the bottom, kind of like a dog's foot pad, but it's a different shape. And then they have the toenails. So the toenails continue to grow, so they get clipped when the shearers come. Their teeth also continue to grow their whole life. So in order to keep the teeth lined up and to have their mouth function correctly, they get their teeth ground down if they need to, and that doesn't hurt them. I mean, it may scare them, but it doesn't hurt them. So that's, and we've learned to, in the last couple of months, we've learned how to trim feet ourselves, because Ziva, the little white fur ball that keeps coming up next to me, her feet grow a little bit differently, and the toenails grow out, and instead of growing out and down, they grow around. So I've been clipping her toenails. I've done hers twice in the last couple of months. Now you'll see this one is getting done. She doesn't like, Panda, come here, baby. Panda, come here. Here, let Mama help. Let me get the big chunks out. Come here. Panda, over here, love. I know you like hers better. Come here, Panda. There you go, baby. There you go. See, we have to keep them happy. Just like kids, you know what each one needs. Each have their own personality. So if you can see her nose, I don't know if you'll be able to see her nose. She's got a little bit of a bare spot on there, but it used to be a whole lot worse. And we can see the difference the Desitin is making. So we give her 5 milliliters of Desitin orally every 2 weeks, I think, or every week. So she gets that orally. The other things we've had to do is, if you look at Ziva, the little fur ball we had, the one that didn't nurse initially, she licked. she also got a severe eye infection.
No.
And if you look at her now, her one eye has a white patch in the middle of the eyeball. Here she comes now. I don't know if you'll see it. Ziva, leave Faith alone. Come here, baby. You're not gonna be able to see it. And she had a really severe infection, and we had to work really hard not to lose her eye. We almost need to bring her to the NC Vet school to have her. See, this is where they can get into spitting, so we try to stand between them so that they don't bother each other, so that they don't spit and choke. So we almost had to bring Ziva to the NC Vet school to have them treat her and try to save her eye, and if not, remove her eye. So every 8 hours, we were out putting ointments and drops in her eyes trying to save that, and we were successful. So we were really, really happy with that. It was exhausting, but we did it. Carmen's had a couple of mouth issues. They lose some teeth at a certain age, and when her teeth came out, it did something funky, and so we had to treat her mouth. That's Carmen. For those of you that were at the Harvest Hoedown last year, she was one of the 2 that came to the Harvest Hoedown. No. And you need to leave her alone, Ziva. See, that's why this is a challenge if there's only one person out here feeding, because there's a lot of alpacas to try to keep contained. And you don't want them choking. At some point, sometimes you just get to the point and you just pick up the bowls and say, okay, we'll try again later. And we what? Separate them. Yeah, so with our 2 pastures, so as they eat the grass on the pasture, we kind of monitor how much grass is left on the pasture, and we have to rotate them so that they can get to more grass. If as the herd gets a little bigger and as more are born, we may have to separate them because it gets harder and harder to feed them and keep contained. So the other problem that we've got is when you have males on the farm, because females will ovulate when bred, and a male will mate whenever possible. So a male can make a real problem with himself, and he can physically do damage to the reproduction parts of the female. So you have to keep males and females separate after about 6 months. So this little guy is causing us a little bit of an issue because now we got to figure out what our game plan is. So either we've got to sell him, get another male, or something. And we've got about 5 months to figure that out. Some people will keep them in the same pasture, but it's not a good idea. The other thing that you have to know is that an alpaca is a herd animal. And as a herd animal, they need to have at least 1 more, if not 2 more of their own species with them. Otherwise, they can die of loneliness. So you may have seen on the internet somewhere where somebody has a pet alpaca and they only have 1. You have to be really careful with that, because what ends up happening is they end up thinking that they're on the same hierarchy as a human, and they can become really aggressive. In males, they have something called the berserk male syndrome, and it can happen if a male baby doesn't nurse right and they're bottle fed. They never learn the distinction in the hierarchy between a human and them. And they will then, you figure these animals are somewhere between 100 and 200 pounds, and they don't know that they're not supposed to try to breed a person, and they're very aggressive. So most of the time, an animal that has berserk male syndrome, they have to put down. So we always tell people you should have at least 3. If you're going to get them, have at least 3. So in case one of them dies, you still have 2. We started with 2 alpacas. Sunshine was one of the first 2 we had on the farm. We had bought, how many of them? 7 to start with. Sunshine and her counterpart Hope were the first two we had on the farm. They came at 6 months old, and we were waiting for Millie and Panda to join us. And the following year, we did lose hope. She got some kind of disease or something. We treated her for close to 3 months and tried to save her. But we ended up having what they call a necropsy done for her, which is essentially an animal autopsy. And so we had to have the vet come and put her down. And I was holding her while they were putting her down. And the necropsy showed that she did have damage to her neck. So that was, but what happened with her was she was walking around, she was having some neurological issues, and she was walking around with her head next to the ground. And when she tried, we were trying to give her injections several times a day, steroids and stuff to revive her. And she did fall a few times. She would run and she would kind of fall on her neck. So we don't know whether the neck injury caused the problem or if the neck injury was a result of everything else that was going on. But it was sad to lose one. So that's why we tell people if you're going to have them, you should have at least 3 because you may lose one. So, see now they're all done. Jim's back cleaning the dishes. Isn't that what a man should always do, ladies? Just kidding. That got them all the chuckle, honey. So what I've talked. What kind of questions have you got? Probably more than you ever wanted to know. And this one is still here trying to nibble on me. If you can see her ear color, you see how bright white her ears are compared to her fleece. That's what color she is naturally. When she was born, she looked like a little jet puffed marshmallow. Our daughter wanted us to call her Marshmallow. So she may not look real white, but deep down inside, she's very white. She's really brilliant, which is what her name means as well. And you can see the chicken is making herself at home. Let me come back up here. What's interesting is we have a hen house for her to lay her eggs, but this is where they like to fly up. We have their flight feathers cut, so they can't fly too far, but they have enough that they can get up on something this high, and then they go over, and she'll come over here, and there's none in here now, but you can kind of see a little indentation in there. They'll lay their eggs in there. When this thing of hay is all the way up to the top, they'll still go up there and lay them. So we usually have a ladder nearby so that we can check for the eggs way up there. So it's about 20 minutes after 12. Anybody got any last questions for me? I hope I didn't bore you to death.
No, it's been quite interesting.
Well, good. I'm glad you liked it, Bonnie.
Very interesting.
I'm glad you were able to join us, Elaine.
Finally,
What did you
I
think,
found it.
Daryl? I wish you could have seen it, Daryl.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank
Jackie?
everybody for yeah, Val?
It was me.
I'm
It was
sorry, I couldn't
me.
hear.
Do you
Oh.
do school virtual for school kids?
We want to. We just found out about a program that they do, which is called something like, what is it?
Because my daughter out at Bondley is always looking for trips for her kids. And I
Yes,
was telling her that you were going to do for us, and she said, oh, well, that sounds quite interesting. So, but right now with she has her hands full, but I just wanted to know if I could give her your information and she could contact you for whenever.
Yes. Yeah, she can just go through our website, priorityfarmllc.com.
Wait,
And
you're going too fast. Priority?
Farm,
Mm-hmm.
LLC.com.
LLC.com.
Right. So there's another program that we just learned about that the dairy industry does, and it's called, what did you say it was again? The cow. It's called Adopt a Cow, and it's for schools where you take and you have a set program, which we could do without a problem. Once a baby is born, then we contact the classes that are interested in adopting it. It doesn't cost them anything or anything like that, but then they can track their baby for the next year, for the school year. And they would
that's
get
great.
updates from us, 4 times a year through the school year. Our daughter's a 5th grade teacher at Chapel Hill Carborough schools, and she did us a favor, and she's starting to look at the educational, what do you call them? The requirements that they have to do, the standards, so that, because in order for schools to be able to use it, they have to be able to match the activity with a standard that they have to learn in school. So as you can see out here, I mean, we can do math, we can do biology, we can do science, we can do social stuff. So we want to work with kids to do that.
Okay, well, I will have her get on there and get the information and then contact you.
That'd be great. And
okay,
what's your daughter's first name?
Connie McClary.
Okay. So we'll know when she gets a hold of us that it's her. So thank you, everybody.
She teaches out at Bondley.
Well, that's great. Yeah, we'd love to work, because this is the kind of animal that a lot of people have never seen up close.
Well, that's why I want this. I visited my daughter when she lived in Bolivia. She married a Bolivian.
Oh.
And I got lots of alpaca things, the map of Bolivia and different things made of alpaca. And but I just went for the baby's birth, so I didn't have time to go learn about it. So this was just perfect. I really appreciated the opportunity.
You're welcome. Yeah, the countries that the alpacas come from is
Andes?
Yeah, they come from Peru, Bolivia, and Chile. So they're the countries they come from.
Do you have any contact with that one out on 64 out towards Siler City? I've never gone in there.
We know them. They're a very big farm. They've got somewhere around 100 alpacas. Our mission is, I think, kind of different than their mission in terms of they're there to.
I figured that.
So that's why we try to give people very personalized tours. When people come here, they feed treats and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
very
like you said, this one here lays down and you can kind of cuddle with her, which is kind of neat. So, but anyway, well, thank you for all the questions. All right.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you, Jackie. It was terrific.
And thank you.
It was very good.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Where's my person?